All right. Looks like we're all right. Live and looks like we're good to go. All right. Live and it is the turn of the hour, so let's go ahead and get started. My name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets. It is June 16th, 2022. Welcome to post-Fed FOMC minutes and Fed Chair press conference. Definitely a interesting session yesterday as we got some shakeup with the volatility of the decision by the Fed to go ahead and raise the target base rate by 75 basis points, along with some of the following discussion by the federal chair in regards to their stance on data moving forward and how at this point in time they are acting more responsive or I would say reactionary as opposed to proactive. We're definitely seeing them adjust their move based on what the data is representing, as opposed to looking forward and simply, getting ahead of what is a relatively high inflationary reading across multiple factors. So let's look at some of the short-term trade that occurred yesterday. We'll quickly just note the expected move is still around that 3770 approximately S&P index. We are gapping down this morning, which is not necessarily surprised to see the market lower. It's more or less a surprise to see the gap down occurring overnight, as a lot of our international markets have opened weak, with some of them actually having some centralized bank discussions as to their own inflationary readings, along with their rate hike expectations moving forward. So we look at our SPY, we can see that yesterday was a higher close than the past couple of sessions. Still a lot of volatile trade intraday. You'll notice, obviously where the Fed released their decision, along with the press conference starting at about 2:30 market time. So from this point forward, how should we be looking at the market? Should we be looking at this gap down as a sort of dip buying opportunity, or do we think that the market's going to head lower? I think it's still kind of on the fence as to what our next couple of days looks like. For one, the expected move tells us that we are outside of bounds, trading at 370, about 3,700 in the S&P index is technically about 1.5 sigma outside of expected move for the week. But as we noted, the market was starting to increase volatility expectations. And if we're looking at what is the market pricing for the next couple of days, you'll see that the market currently has about a 90-point expected move based on yesterday's close. So the market sees a lot more volatility in the next couple of days. And what this is stating is that the market could easily move another, in this case, about 9 to 10 points in the SPY without too much difficulty. This is within expectations for the rest of the week. Additionally, when we look at what the, let's see, pull up the trading terminal here. There we go. When we look at maybe what assets are down today, you'll notice that a lot of our energy assets are trading relatively lower. Natural gas is already getting that bounce off of what occurred a couple days prior. And a lot of our energy sector assets, our stock-based assets, are trading lower over the past couple of sessions. So there is this idea that maybe with energy starting to abate slightly, you can see this has been sort of in a steeper decline over the past couple of sessions. we're losing what was essentially a safety trade in a lot of ways, an area of the market that was outperforming. And this is not just to say that this won't recover in the future, but the size of this retracement, the overextension of the energy market as a whole, we definitely want to be a bit more cautious looking to buy these dips moving forward, and understand that if we do start to lose trends, this is going to be more on the weekly and monthly time frames. This can easily set up some longer term highs in the market, some technical levels that we can always trade around. So none of that has occurred yet, but the weekly is showcasing how overextended this market got. The topping tail is indicative of the reversal. And then we're seeing things like the gap down, which is being sold into. That's obviously our confirmation that this was a parabolic high. And we're getting, in this case, weekly pullbacks, weekly consolidation with the likes of daily drawdowns as well to our key moving averages. All right. So for those, just shifting quickly back to the Fed, for those who missed or want to get more information about what the Fed discussed yesterday, I recommend going to basically their FOMC calendar page, link at the top of the screen. And what you'll see here, if you scroll down the 2022 FOMC minutes, you'll have your June notes here. This will include the statement, which is essentially all of the higher level decisions that were made, and a discussion of what their balance sheet reduction looks like in regards to treasuries and mortgage-backed securities, along with things like overnight reverse repo rates, and what was the final decision and who agreed to that decision. It was I believe a unanimous decision, if I recall correctly. Maybe a 10-1. I thought it was unanimous, but I think there was maybe one member who didn't necessarily agree with everything. Additionally, if you're looking at the press conference, there is a link here to rewatch that live recording. And if you're looking a little bit deeper, in case you are quite interested in this data, there are the projection slide decks that the Fed often uses to basically look forward into the next couple of years. What would our GDP projections look like based on what the data readings are today? And obviously adjustments along the way as we get new information. So there's obviously going to be some various charting here, along with error and standard deviation ranges based on obviously fluctuation in data. So if that tickles your fancy, the Fed FOMC calendar page is where you want to go. We're also going to take our final look at the target rate probability for the next meeting. We'll obviously put this down for a while until we get much closer next July. But if you notice, we're still looking at a market that is pricing the higher probability towards 75-point rate hikes becoming more of a norm. The Fed did, or Federal Chair Jerome Powell did indicate that the decisions made were going to be reactionary to data, which means, as in this case, a lot of our inflationary data gets presented, if there is no downtick, if there's no topping action, or if there's really no reduction in those readings, the response is going to be similar. They're either going to look to stay the course with what they've done during this call, and if it comes in much hotter, the market will likely assume an even faster rate hike cycle, so a more hawkish stance. So it's definitely something that puts a little bit of uncertainty into the market. The last thing you want is to not know what to expect for the next call, and to basically require that data on hand in order to assume certain probabilities. But it is their current stance, and they're basically announcing that they're going to be more of a reactionary decision, for everything. Okay, so for today, as we switch back to our charts, I think today is going to be about kind of playing things a bit cautionary. We have a high volatility reading across most measures. The gap down open obviously brings some concern. And if we do decide to continue to sell off, remember we are outside of expected move. So it's likely that we're going to see some hedging behavior as we sell off. That's usually indicative of a slow, steady, and often just a low volatility on the bounces type of downtrend. Usually you're going to just see like a fade into lower prices. If we don't get that, I think from a technical sense, we do want to see the market trade sideways for a period of time, i.e., build up some energy in regards to any sort of long attempt. And obviously with our pretty much every trend to the downside, we have to anticipate every single bounce to form some sort of lower high. If you're looking at the hourly, for example, a lower high can take the form of basically rejecting some of the lows from yesterday prior to the call. That would essentially put the S&Ps at around 376, 377. And remember, from the S&P index, that is our expected move. So the idea here is that in this location, we need to be a bit careful because the rally definitely has some upside. There really isn't a lot of resistance based on how we sold off overnight. If the market trades sideways and starts to rally into that resistance, that is something that is certainly tradable intraday. But if we don't have a rally, or if we start to break pre-market lows very early in the session, understand that we are outside of normal ranges and we can see a slower and steadier downtrend, something where reversals are going to be poor, and you'll have to be extremely careful of what I like to call like a final sell-off. Usually this is where we've sold off for a while. We'll have maybe a small range that forms, and then we'll get essentially a waterfall style sell-off, that final wave of selling into a key price level that the market deems appropriate to facilitate. 3,700 is quite heavy on the S&Ps, both if you're looking at the SPY option market, you'll notice 370 is quite heavy in open interest. I'm looking more at the put side, given that we are looking at more downside behavior. But if you note, it's heavy across the board on the way down, all the way to 360. And as I mentioned, this might not necessarily be today's target to the downside, but we do have an expected move for the rest of the week that is predictive of the market being able to move about $9 to $10. And that can be in both directions. So from 370, the idea is that if we sell, 10 more points is not out of the question. If we rally, from a technical sense, we're definitely looking at yesterday's resistance along with the expected move for the week, what was priced in earlier before this week started. So it's a lot of kind of 50-50 here. It's definitely a gap down open. We've seen gap down opens be strong relative sessions, but be careful of the breakdown and what it looks like from the long perspective, how to trade that breakdown, and obviously stay out of, I would say, reactionary lows. Try not to be timing the bottom too precisely, simply because of the behavior of the market. You'll often find yourself wanting for upside. So with all that said, I think we're good for today's session. It is Thursday, so I'll open it up to the chat room for any tickers or discussions that you'll want to have. We'll take a look at anything y'all are interested in for today. So BBT chat, I'll let y'all go first. Basically, the first 3 or 4 who get in the names will get the priority. So a lot of people are calling out Saidu. Let's see. So this had a nice day yesterday. We're getting a strong rally today. This one's pretty simple. Just kind of follow the momentum here. You'll note that this is a bull flag that is expanding. So our expectation of movement for bull flags is the size of the previous rally, because we did consolidate and we are expanding in a similar way. So this one's pretty simple. The momentum is putting our upper target right now back into our swing lows from a historical sense. We have a fairly strong base of support that broke back in February. And if you look at where our top side of our bull flag marks off, it's approximately about 8.25. Maybe also just grab this low here, which is 8.25. So that one's actually pretty simple. From there, you're going to want to kind of watch out for the fade. The idea here is if you see a stronger sell presence up here, that'll not necessarily be a short, but it'll be a very long consolidative period. And that's if we reject here. So I'm simply marking off the current move and our current expansion right here. You see how simple this is in regards to the expectation? This move here consolidates into another leg. And then we're going to look and see if we get a sell next to our resistance point. So keep it simple. Doesn't have to be harder than that. Amazon, let's see. So Amazon, similar to, I guess, most of the market, we haven't made a fresh low on Amazon, but we've made, I guess, our range low for now. You'll note this low is important, 102.41. We had a response against it into the split being basically performed. We spiked on our day of the split, and then we sold off with a lot of the rest of the market. And we're seeing some, obviously, support here for the time being. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting spot, because if you're selling Amazon, it kind of puts your target at this support. If the market sells off hard today, Amazon has a decent chance of losing it. And then if you're really seeing some weakness across the market, I would just look at 100 as your final target. So, yeah, this is actually a pretty decent relative strength stock yesterday. It outperformed the rest of the market, and then we're not necessarily breaking the lows from yesterday. So that's kind of the one where it's like, the market would need to sell off for this to hit that support. And that's more of a short-term look. Oxy. So Oxy is experiencing the same sell swing as the rest of the energy market. There's a couple notes here in regards to the depth of the sell swing. It's more of a concerning look, because we're breaking very simple trend concepts, which is never lose your swing lows. You'll notice that Oxy wasn't necessarily just making higher highs and higher lows on the way up. It did this consolidative range trade for a while. There was a momentum breakout, something akin to like a release of energy, and we formed that parabolic high with a lot of the energy market. We chopped around 70 for a while, and then we saw weakness. For today, let's look short term here. The hourly trend is your guide for a lot of your shorter term trades. A lot of things are in hourly downtrends. Some are making, fresh lows. Some are coming off of highs, but most stocks in the market are in hourly downtrends right now. So bounces in the market kind of have that hourly resistance to look forward to. If they get no bounce, then you want to be looking at call it the daily, and just kind of understand here that Oxy doesn't have a lot of support until we get to the lower end of the trading range. We're back inside of it, which is a concern, because what this represents is a weekly move that pulled back. Essentially something where you're supposed to find some support and you haven't yet. The weekly 20s coming in, that's also something to consider. And when I'm looking at ranges of that size, there's often a VPOC. So your biggest value zone for Oxy is about 57.50. This is your, daily and weekly range that was formed before this breakout. So we're back at value. Is that a good or bad thing for longs? I would say you might want the asset to be a little stronger. So if crude maybe reverses today, Oxy would be a bit more bullish. But we're at value. So it's hard to play stocks when they're at such a high transactional value because they don't tend to move as much. They move better when they're far away from value, or if they're coming back in. You play extension or move back. You often don't want to play at value. So whether you want to trade it today, that's up to you. But I think big picture, Oxy has returned to fairness. What was fair for a couple of months has now all of a sudden become the price. And then of course, the loss of so much momentum here. Obviously the idea of like a trend change, that we're still in a weekly uptrend right now, but a bounce right now probably has the expectation of a lower high. Whatever the bounce looks like, it might actually be a weaker bounce on the market. Let's see. Did I get everybody? Amazon, Oxy. I'll get one more in the BBT chat. And Banu, I'll get you in just a moment. We'll look at shop really quickly. These are oversold names. Always be looking for them to rally in magnitude that's much larger than the rest of the market. So the rallies on these names, if you catch them right, are tremendous. That from a percentage perspective, oversold rallies tend to be your biggest gainers. When I'm looking at whether the stock can hold bigger term trends, you want to keep that really simple. Are we really changing anything with that rally? And the answer is no. We're still in a massive multi-month downtrend. And you could argue that, okay, we're starting to trade flat right now. We're starting to maybe go sideways, which is good, but we need some confidence in regards to trend changes. The weekly has to change trends. And obviously a lot of things are testing lows right now. So if the market shows any strength, oversold names tend to be the ones with the highest percentage upside. They bounce the highest. But they also are the weakest from an investing standpoint. No one is happy investing in shop over the past couple of months because all of those participants are down. This is a massive give back. So you want to look at that from that perspective. And then, I just extend this to the left. It's pretty obvious to see where we're hitting right now. It's COVID lows. So that one's pretty simple. That's either going to hold or it's not. And obviously it's a good spot to look, but it's not showcasing anything yet. It's just holding. All right, so for YouTube, let's go to Tesla. Short term here, I would say this is going to be market driven. This was a relatively stronger stock yesterday. As I mentioned, the weaker stocks on stronger days tend to outperform. It is gapping down from 700. I would say short term right now, we're kind of playing with the idea that this is kind of in equilibrium. This is not as clear of an uptrend or a downtrend on the shorter term. We have a stronger rally, and we haven't lost the low for this rally. So we're kind of caught in the middle. I would say that if the market goes down further, Tesla is not necessarily going to be a safe haven for anything. We're currently at the daily 20. We're not seeing a close above that right now, so I can't really indicate anything more than down. This is a downtrending stock, big picture. It's a weaker stock from a drawdown perspective, but the bounces are also attractive. When the market bottoms, Tesla bounces higher. It has higher upside, and that's usually the case with oversold stocks that are weaker on the big picture. Let's look at Dawn. This is a stock in play. Looks like it might be on our gappers list this morning. Maybe it's kind of trading around yesterday's prices. I would mostly just mark your daily levels here. This is every single day. It's whether or not the bulls are winning or are we pulling back into the previous ranges. There's a daily spike high and low a couple of sessions ago. We made fresh highs, I think, last session, but we sold them into the range. And then we're kind of choppy yesterday, so I'm not really sure if this is something that's of high intraday interest. It sold and then it went flat. There's a very clear range here for where I expect there to be stronger support, and anything else is likely going to be choppy. So be very careful thinking bigger picture moves here until we get to some of these levels and test them. And we're also below a breakout level. This breakout right here did not have a lot of legs to it. And MicroStrategy. So, obviously the sentiment in crypto is bearish along with the rest of the market. Very weak overall name. We're seeing some higher volume candles here, so it's worth paying attention to what happens around the higher volume signals. This one right here is probably your key level, and the highs and lows of this day are kind of interesting because we closed above them. But we're also pretty hard to really get any sense of directionality because we're seeing strength in a weaker name. I think similar to this analysis I'm doing for other things, there are relative lows that were set back in time. Those lows have highs of the bounce. And then from there, you want to be thinking that these levels are going to respond until they don't. So we're near the lows. I'm thinking more bullish until we lose this kind of price activity. Because after you get a very strong reactionary sell-off like this, a capitulation style low, you're going to see basically flat trade for a while. I've talked about this with the likes of the China stocks, the high volume low, the high, and then in this case, the range is really wide. So the trade occurred, within 20 to 30% moves, but it showcases that stocks can go sideways for a while after these levels are met. So after you get capitulation, you usually see some sideways trading for a long time. You want to play close to long near the bottom, close to short once you get close to that reactionary high. And you're just looking for breakouts, which one's going to win. Usually capitulation, I'm looking for the long. So, all right. So with all that said, that's the end of my session. So have a great rest of your trading week. Trade safe today and tomorrow. Be on the lookout for those breakdowns. 3,700 is a big level for the S&P. Stay tuned for pre-market prep as always, and we'll talk more next week. So bye for now, and keep it green.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to PreMarket Prep. I hope you're having an amazing morning. I hope you had a great day yesterday. Good morning, Peter. How are you doing today?
I am doing good, Carlos. Happy to be here, sitting in for Norm. How are you?
Doing good, man. Glad to have you. So Norm is having some lightning
Yeah,
issues.
we hope Norm is doing well. I hear that he was trying to, he had plugged in his crock pot to his electric vehicle, trying to heat up
Yeah,
his bean-based chili with a Beyond Meat crumble and caused a fire. So that's why he couldn't be here this morning. So.
yeah. He blew out one of the transformers on the street, so his whole neighborhood is out of power now. So we wish him all the best. All right, guys. So let's get into so much to talk about today. So much going on. Obviously, the Fed meeting yesterday creating a lot of movement and action for us in the afternoon part and this morning as well. So we'll get into that. Also, let's give Jared a big thumbs up, guys, for joining us every morning at 8 a.m. Monday through Thursday, taking us through the overall market, some macro information, and so forth. So, with that said, let's talk about the SPY a little bit, Peter, here, and just kind of your take on the overall Fed meeting, how things reacted yesterday. Then we can get into what stocks are possibly in play today.
Yeah, I guess the market reacted as you would expect. So the Fed announcement was that it was a 75 point basis hike in the interest rates, which was on the high end, but basically what everybody expected. That's the revised expectations after, if you recall, of course, the high CPI numbers from last week. Once that came out, you can see how the market reacted, pretty much whipsawed up and down, which it tends to do when the computers read the news. And then the big move actually started when Powell started having the press conference and some questions were being answered. So we can see the market sort of trended down until it sort of hit, I guess, a point of reversal, and then we ended the day a little bit higher. So, all the type of movement that you would expect with that type of announcement, but all in all, not a massive reaction, quite frankly. This morning, we're seeing the market sort of moving down a little bit, and global markets are down as well. So, again, not hugely, but it's just continuing that general sentiment of unease and concern over the health of the global economy.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it was a big shock yesterday to what took place, because the market ended up kind of where it was, somewhat, right? But today
Yeah.
definitely interesting. Gapping down, we're already down about 2%. Was a little more. We're bouncing back just a little bit this morning, and we'll see what kind of action we're going to get. As we expected, a lot of stocks yesterday being very choppy. If you look at our watch list from yesterday, take a quick look at that. Except Neo and some of the Chinese companies actually traded very well towards the upside. I mean, these guys they're trying to rise good positive news. They haven't had the chance to do that. But yeah, a lot of them were actually pretty good yesterday. Here's Neo, beautiful pre-market activity, had tons of volume. We knew that they gap down or drop down after the market opened, but then rally pretty nicely back to the top here. So that was very clean there. Got a little indecision towards getting close at 2:30, 2 o'clock time frame. But before that, it traded extremely well and very clean. So hopefully you took advantage of that. Bob was another one as well that did gap down, did not recover as much, but you did get a nice double bottom off of this, past the VWAP and all the way almost to the high of the day before you got the madness at 2 o'clock, right? Apple, on the other hand, and many other stocks like Apple did just this. Again, just not a whole lot of movement, a lot of indecision, and this is what we're used to seeing. So I remember we got the question yesterday. I don't recall if it was from our chat or from YouTube or one of our members. Why do we anticipate the market to be choppy when the Fed is about to announce, especially important news like this that can affect the market? This is why, because many times this is what you get, right? You got a little movement here, but for the most part, a lot of indecision. Nobody wants to put hard bets into the news is out. Nobody wants to get shocked, right? The market doesn't like to be shocked. Although you did not get really shocked yesterday, what you expect is what you got. The market's still going to do its thing as computers are reading it and investors trying to figure out what's the best way to go here, traders and so forth. But you get this more often than not, right? So you saw a lot of stocks like this, but not Roblox. Roblox yesterday did get a nice pop here. Beautiful continuation after that. Nvidia, very similar to Apple and and AMD and Nvidia all kind of doing the same thing, just chopping sideways. So that's what you had there, guys. Let's take a look at our gappers list this morning. We have Norm's
Maybe
favorite stock.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I should maybe just to mention it before we get into the gappers. So we do have some overall market announcements that are happening this morning. Jobless claims have come out. It was slightly higher than expected, 229,000 versus 220. The continuing jobless claims was right on target with the previous number. Building permits and housing starts were slightly lower, but not significantly. The confusing one for me is that the Philadelphia Fed, the manufacturing index, came out. It's expected at 4.8%, came in at, well, what I'm seeing here is negative 3.3, which would be concerning. I just don't know if that's accurate at this point, but I'm not seeing much reaction from the market, so I guess maybe you don't need to worry about all of those. Of course, are nowhere near as impactful as the like a Fed announcement like we had yesterday afternoon. So all in all, the market's probably going to continue doing what we've seen so far this morning. We'll let you know if something else changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. All right, just sending a message there. Just give me 1 second, guys. All right, guys. So yeah, our members, just FYI, I did get some emails, and thank you guys for trying to help. I know a lot of you email me, hey, how can we help with the show to get the show back on the chat room? And we're working on. So here's the issue. It's not a chat room issue. It's not our server. It's just the program that I use specifically to stream to a chat room. It's not meant to do that, right? It's meant to stream to a um more defined way, like a YouTube, like a Twitch, like a any other streaming actual platforms. When you stream to a browser, I'm doing a whole workaround on my back end to get that done, and that has been causing some issues lately on my end on my PC. So again, the system is not meant to do that. My PC is very powerful. I mean, I have more than enough juice there to do what we have to do. Maybe light up Norm's neighborhood, but it's just it's just we're doing something that it was not meant to do. Just because the software that we're using, this is why you get, all the movements, all the pretty slides that we're able to go through things pretty quickly.
You're mute.
I did hit mute somewhere, one of
There
these
you go.
buttons
Okay.
for sure. There's all kinds of stuff going on here. So guys, so be patient with us as we get through this, and we will definitely find a more effective way to stream to the browser when we're trying to run this show. So it's like, we want the quality, but at the same time, the quality is going to cost you certain things in certain areas. All right, guys, let's take a look. Let's go ahead and remove our watch list from yesterday. Control A, Control X. And we'll look at what's on deck today, guys. RDBX this morning, 8 million shares flow, as you guys know. This stock has been making a lot of noise. Got down yesterday, but did recover. And today, I mean, the daily looks like it's ready to go back up to 16, 18, 19 over here, the way it's setting up now. 1.4 million shares traded. We do have a gapping up 18% this morning. What was the day like yesterday on this thing? And Peter, have you touched this yet? Have you traded it? I mean, there.
I haven't. I've watched it, but I can't get out of my head. It's just the new meme stock, right? It seems to have taken over from where GME and AMC left off, and yeah, it's been moving, but I don't know. It doesn't sort of fit my trading profile generally, and I have not yet touched it.
That's exactly the same for me. It doesn't fit my profile. Well said. And although I look at some days after the fact and it looked like it traded very well, like I would have probably had an opportunity to take advantage of it, but it's just when I look at it now, it just doesn't fit the profile. So, well said there, Peter. Yeah. So, guys, I know you guys are going to be looking at this. If this is your wheelhouse, I'm going to put it on here. Roadblock, not Roadblock, excuse me. Red box here. Well, up 20%. 1.4 million shares being traded at the moment. Here's Twitter, guys. Twitter, we haven't heard from Twitter in a while. They are up 2%. Their volume is too light for the most part. We know we like Twitter with some heavy volume here. We're not seeing that this pre-market at least. And is there any news out on from Elon and him continue his purchase here? Is there anything happening there?
There's been some news on it. Yes. So Elon says that he's going to confirm his deal, and sounds like he's going forward with it. So, It looks, so I guess that's positive for Twitter, but it hasn't reacted much the last week or so, I would say, to this news. So yeah, we're seeing the gap this morning because Elon's sort of tweeting out saying, it's going to be mine soon and get ready for
Hmm.
changes. But I don't know if that's going to make it tradable.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I don't see anything great on it right now. BSX this morning. No, this looks horrible at the moment, so we'll skip on this. Let's see what's gapping down today. We got obviously very nice list here. Everything is on deck on the downside because the SPY is currently down, so that is going to be dragging some stocks down, as we all know it tends to do that, right? So right now, SPY is down about 2%. Did rally a little bit from the lows of 369 here on the SPY, and we can see here how that's going to play out today. So it's going to be interesting. Daily is still looking rather weak. I mean, nice gap up yesterday, but we're right back down at the lows from 2 days ago. So this is not fun there. Let's take a look at the list. Aclx this morning, they are down 7.8. I can already tell this stock is not good at all. Look at the volume here, guys. Just look them down, 742,000 for the most part on a lot of their days here, and they're moving between 18 and 2750 with that type of volume. That is scary stuff. That spread, I can only imagine. That price action, I can only imagine. In fact, let's not imagine. Let's go and look at it. It's
Yesterday,
ooh.
it is a low float stock. I see only about 17 million shares in the float. They did announce yesterday a pretty big secondary offering, sort of midday, of another 7 million shares. So
Mhm.
that's pretty big compared to the size of the float. But secondary offerings don't often make the best trading.
Yeah, and I'm glad you bring that up because I did get an Instagram message. You guys, you can message me on Instagram or Twitter, and we'll get back to you. And some of those answers I'm going to give here on the show because I know there's other people that might want to know that as well. So someone was asking me, does it make a difference what kind of catalyst it is, right? Is one catalyst better than the other, or we're just looking for any type of catalyst? And it does matter. Reverse split are horrible because you're not really, that's actually a bad thing. If you don't know what that is, that means the stock price is dropping to the point that they want to reverse it now. So now they're moving the price up. You're getting the same value of the company. It's just doing so bad that it's reaching like a lower price of the reversal now, so it's worth more than what it actually, not more than what it actually is, but the price is higher than what it was. That's usually a horrible catalyst. Doesn't trade very well. Stock split on the other end, right? Like an Amazon, like we saw with the big one a few years ago, Tesla.
Tesla.
Those trade very well. If the company's hot, they can trade very well. So they can get volume like we've seen with Amazon. Amazon's getting tons of volume, trading very well. And I think it'll be less choppy if we were not in these market conditions, right? So that's going to be a good ticker going forward. So the catalyst does
Yep.
matter. On lower flow stocks, usually pharmaceutical companies, biotechs, we see these FDA approvals and they're good but very dangerous. They're good for a little bit, but they got to get great volume. But I always feel, for the most part, I wish I had some stats to show you this. They always come back down. They end up crashing before they could continue and really stick, right? Phase 3 approvals are a little bit better. They get more action. So the catalyst does
Yeah.
matter. Upgrades and
Buyout.
downgrades. Go ahead, Peter. Yeah.
You'll hear us talking about buyout news. Buyout news
Yep.
is usually bad. The worst is usually a cash buyout because it fixes
Yes.
a price. You can get buyouts where if it's an all stock deal with a small company and a relatively like a mid-sized company, those tend to be the ones that move the best, but still we tend to avoid buyouts. So
Yeah, another one, and Dan is mentioning this too. Depends what banks it comes from, and I assume you're referring to like upgrades and downgrades, right? Usually, you hear these
yeah.
upgrades and downgrades. They happen every day. If you go search what companies were upgraded and downgraded, there's happening every day by hundreds of non-known names out there that are analysts or whatever doing upgrades and downgrades. Nobody cares about
I'm sure
John
these
Doe.
I'm sure these analyst firms will be angry with you that you call them no
They'll be
names, but
they'll be very
I
angry
agree
with
with
me. If you see that some thumbs down or our subscriptions coming up, it's probably one of the
you.
analysts
That's
there.
right. Who's this Carlos guy to call me a no
Who
name?
does he
Damn it!
think he is? But yeah, if it's not like a Bank of America, West Fargo, J.P. Morgan, they carry a lot of weight, and when they do a downgrade on a company, you're gonna see the reaction because people, they have confidence that they're doing the right thing there. So, um, All right, see here. So ACLX, no good for me. That doesn't look great. ZI, this is also looking horrible today, down 3%. Looks like a block trade, just nothing happening there. EDU, you guys know how I feel about this one. Again, another one that I don't really touch. Let's see how it did yesterday. Huge drop and then bounce right back up. Again, just one that does not fit my trading style, so I'm not gonna watch it. But the fake Google here is down 5.5. This is what is this again, by the way? Golden Ocean Group, and this is it an
They're a
oil
shipping
company?
company.
Shipping company.
Yeah,
Yeah, I always
shipping.
think it's.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Golden Ocean. I think they're in the ocean, like digging up oil. That would have been a great name for that, but it's not. It's a shipping company, which
No.
makes sense. Okay, so yeah, they're not looking good. I don't like what I'm looking at there. Here is you this morning, and you Unity
Ew.
Software. Oh yeah, you.
Heck
I
is
don't.
this?
I
Unity.
don't. I never heard of
No.
this. We might have saw this on May 11th. And actually, I think I was on vacation that time, so I don't remember this. So yeah, that doesn't look good. A firm, A firm. Let's see here what we have on A firm. We are down 5%. Again, just no real volume right now. And this is a tough one to trade, guys. Out of many of the stocks that we've seen, this is one that doesn't trade very well. CHPT is on here. I mean, there's a list of stuff here that's gapping down above 5%, 6%. That just does not look great at all. Like
The
CHPT.
just on AFIRM, I don't can't remember if you mentioned it a couple of days ago. It might be worth keeping an eye on over the longer term. By the way, just because I think it was about 3 days ago, maybe now. Anyways, that Apple announced they were sort of getting into the market
Yeah,
using
yeah.
their Apple Pay. They were going to have a delayed or pay later. I can't remember what they called it. I think it was called pay later service or something. So similar to these finance companies that will allow you to sort of delay your payments or make a payment schedule if you wanted to make a purchase almost of any size. So it's always it's always concerning when the big boys, Apple, Amazon, Google, if they get into your market, usually that spells problems for the smaller
Hmm.
companies that are in there.
Yeah, I'm still shocked that Apple's getting into that business, but they see something they like there. So a firm, I mean, this
Yeah.
stock was this stock like a 300? I mean, maybe 180. Okay, 180, and just look at this now. We're back at 17, and is this below their IPO? This is all time low. This is not good for these guys at all. I mean, they are just getting killed here, and that Apple news is not going to help them. So I agree with you, Peter. Long term, this might be a good one to keep an eye on. I just don't know how long they can hold on to this stock. Geez, $17. Here it is. BORR down 4%. No volume here. We saw this yesterday as well. Didn't look good. Still does not look any good. I'm gonna stop here. And because the list is very long, my friends, I think you guys will throw some good ones out there. I see some of the bigger names: Uber. We have Amazon, Apple. I'm sorry, American Airlines. We have a lot of them airlines in here. We have Meta, we have Oxy, AMD. We have a ton. So I'm gonna stop here. I'll let you guys throw some stuff at us. But before we do that, Peter, anything on your list today that looks interesting?
Well, I just have to mention AMD, of course. It's my constant friend and companion here in the trading world, and not doing much this morning. Pretty regular volume for it, but it feels like it's down at the low end of this range, and I expect to see some movement out of it over the next couple of days. I don't know if it'll be today or maybe next week, but I think it'll move. And the only other thing, I mean, there's two sectors I just wanted to mention to watch. EV sector generally has been moving a fair amount over the last few days. Tesla actually had some negative news. So there was a report about 70% of all of the crashes of electric vehicles were due to their autonomous vehicle capabilities. So that
Mm-hmm.
was some negative news I saw that came out on Tesla. Whether it has a big impact or not, you just never know. But as soon as Tesla moves, all of the others move, right? Neo,
Yeah.
Li, XPEV, they all tend to sort of move. So I would keep an eye on that sector. The other one is the travel sector. We've seen some interesting declines, I think, in the airlines and the cruise lines. Obviously, with the market going down, they're moving down, but most of them are down at the range, the lows that were set back in March of this year, and that in turn is sort of a low range that was set in 2020. So when I'm looking at this, is I'm going back into the daily charts, I'm just thinking that this sector seems to be under pressure a little bit, and I might keep a general eye on a couple of my favorites, like AAL that you have on the screen here, Carlos, CCL for the cruise lines. Yeah, exactly. See, that's exactly the areas that I'm just watching. So, sometimes when it gets near those levels of support, you just watch it, because if it breaks through, it could show additional weakness. If it gets support, then we could see some move up that we can take advantage of. So just a couple of areas to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely like American Airlines today as well, as far as the overall daily, what you just mentioned. So I'm going to add that one on here. Might not be great at the market open just yet. The volume is just not there for American Airlines, but it is a top possible for sure. All right, let's take a look at what you guys will have on your list this morning. Neo is on deck. Fabio is giving us Nvidia. Let's take a look there. What do we have in Nvidia today? Pretty similar to what Tesla's doing at the moment, but in AMD as well. Again, very, very similar. If you look at AMD, you look at Nvidia, they're both looking rather identical there. Tesla, we do have on deck. Thank you for that one. Good morning, Brian in Switzerland. Welcome. And what else we have here? Heading on down. Carlos, I did well long on BA yesterday. What about continuation? Yeah, BA actually did very well yesterday. You guys mentioned I did not have it on deck. I'm not sure about continuation. I think it had two really good moves already. Unless the SPY is going to bounce here and rally, I think it's going to be a tough time for them to get going here up to this 140. What is this, 141? That's my only thing. I think it's going to, unless they have their own catalyst, which I'm not aware of. Michael, if they do, it could be a strong catalyst that can actually do pretty good here. But we had a couple of tickers that did this yesterday, right? Although the market was kind of sideways a little bit towards the end there. It did kind of end a little bit more on the positive side than what we're seeing this morning. I'm not sure, but again, we'll have to wait and see on BA. That's going to be a hit or miss. Could be the sleeper for today. Let's see. Yes, Baba for sure. Bill, Jason, I'm definitely going to be watching Baba today. Again, I think for me has been one of the better stocks for me this month, right? So they've been trading very, very well. They had a couple of gap downs here, gap ups, and continuation, which I love. Usually when you get a gap up like this, you tend not to get this continuation, especially with the way this market has been so sensitive. Baba didn't care, it did very well on this day here. Gap down here again, sold off. A lot of this happened because of the market, but it's been trading well with good volume. So I definitely like what I'm seeing there. If you look at the 8th of June, higher than usual volume for a couple of days on here. So that is a good one. All right, let's take a look here. We do have Neo is good. Phil, they launched a new SUV. That could be interesting. CCL might go under. Man, CCL is at 952. Really? 952 on CCL. Wow. This is another one that, as you mentioned, Peter, this might be actually hitting some of the lows from way back when.
Well, exactly. This is
Yeah.
back. So it went through that. The March area is not the same on CCL, but yeah, if you look back, like I was talking about the lows of 2020 when it hit $8 or something like that, like it's starting to head to that range. So, yeah.
Again, it's just people holding on to their money. They're not spending. Travel is an issue with the airlines. There's no pilots. So there's a cancellation of flights. It's just a whole bunch of things going on here. So yeah, CCL could be interesting. Maybe not for right at the open, but maybe later in the day how it actually plays out. I do like the way CCL trades, so I will be watching CCL this morning. All right, we have a few here. KR earnings. KR, this is Kroger. Is this earnings when? Tonight? Yesterday? This morning pre-market.
When do they have their? Yeah, so
Yeah.
actually they did have earnings this morning pre-market. Looks like they beat their numbers. I wasn't expecting any earnings. I didn't even check. So look at that.
Yeah. So they're down 3.4. Even with earning, guys, this is a stock that for me doesn't trade all that clean. I'll put it on the secondary just to see how it does. But for intraday trading, I haven't had luck with Kroger. I don't think I ever traded Kroger, to be honest. I just the way it trades, the volume is a little bit on the lighter side. That's just me personally, but we'll see what takes place there. All right, so let's go on here. Alexandro asking how we go long term on these red different stocks. You mean how do you can get it long on a stock that's referenced for at a good price now for future investment? Is that what you're asking? Because there's a lot of stuff on sale. There's that's for sure. There are companies that are on sale. What I mean by that, their price are very attractive if you're looking for long term investments, right? There's a few of those that are like that. But you got to be careful. You got to. My advice to my friends that ask me, "Hey, I want to invest long term because this price looks good," is just stay cash. Don't go into margin. So you can survive the drop if it continues to drop. That's the best advice I can give you. And do your research on your company. Make sure it's not EDU or something like that. Like you just have no idea what's going on. Do your research on that. Yeah, Phil, we put that one on the sleeper list, KR, because it can surprise us today with their earnings. So, all right, what else we have, guys? I think we are all set. We've got a couple here, two more. We'll do pins, plug, actually three more, and Airbnb. Actually, I have Airbnb up already. All-time lows on Airbnb? Really? Man, 97. Wow. What was their IPO? Their IPO 2-3 years ago. IPO around 145. Yeah, so they're getting killed. I don't like the way this one trades. I seen the action on it. It's just one of these stocks that the volume is a little bit lighter. If you notice, I don't like stocks that have very light volume, regardless of their price. If they have light volume like this, 10 million, 5 million for their entire day, usually the price action, the level 2 is, for me, it's not ideal. So I want to see things that can trade some really good volume throughout the day. Get a couple of million shares if possible during the pre-market. Plug this morning, pretty much flat right now, down, not flat, down 4%, but not great volume, not a huge activity happening within the pre-market. So I don't see anything overly exciting on that one for me to add on deck. Pins, we haven't looked at pins in a while. They're down 4%, very, very light volume. So I don't think this will be a good one for today, at least of right now. Again, guys, remember at the market open, all eyes on Qs and the SPY. That's going to determine a lot of what takes place today. We're heading down here now, slightly below 2% down. So that is not good, not good. Well, let's see here. We're officially in a bear market, right? I think we're down 20% from above 20% from the highs. Let's see how this continues. It's gonna be interesting to say the least.
Yeah, that term always makes me laugh because, as I said over and over again, as soon as by the time it's announced that we're officially in a bear market, we are well into, if not almost done with the bear market. So, it's always one of those ridiculous things where they're like, "Oh, well, we're officially in a bear market." Well, it's sort of like, no, duh.
Yeah,
I mean, we're down 20%.
I feel like we're in a bear market well some time ago, man, long ago. But they have this 20% number they put on there. Who knows? But the sentiment overall too, it's not ideal. Andrew and Artie talked about Salah in their closing bell yesterday. And by the way, shout out to Jeremy, Mr. 66, for joining us yesterday in the closing bell, giving us his insights on his trading. So really appreciate his comments and kind of get an insight on how other traders, our members, are doing and what they have found success in. With that said, guys, let's go over to events, community events and announcements. I'm going to go to the website because I think our file is somewhat out of shape. So let's go ahead and bring our website here and we can walk through some of the stuff that's coming up for our community.
You bet. So let's talk about what's happening because we always have a ton of stuff going on. Last night, Wednesday, we had some psychology activities going on with Dr. Reed and others. So that's a Wednesday slate. Mondays, like we've told you in the past, is always about sort of bringing our new members on board, helping giving you introduction, both from an introduction to the community and the platform, as well as technology. So next week, what is next? The 27th next week? No way.
No. It's that we're off on Monday.
Oh,
holiday.
Right, of course. Right. So yeah. So next Monday is right. So we got nothing next Monday. My God, I'm like totally discombobulated. It is a market holiday then, right?
Yes. Juneteenth. Yeah,
right.
Brand new holiday. That's why you're off. It's a brand new holiday. I think this is like the second time we're off. So your
Yeah, and
mind
I
is
think
trying to register.
it's very rare that we have two so quickly, one after the other, right? Because we just had, it feels like, Memorial Day just a few weeks ago. So, but anyways, yeah. So the markets are closed. Remember, Monday then for the Juneteenth. So we're closed all day, and then we will reopen Tuesday. That means, of course, our activities here in the room are also be taking the holiday. So no activities Monday. Tuesday of next week is our strategy trade book type review activities. Andrew's going to be presenting next Tuesday with his review of his trading style and his 1 minute opening range breakout. If you watch Andrew at the open, right, all of our members here know, he is extraordinarily good at this. This is his sort of expertise. And he has it's just a great affinity for sort of being able to read those markets and sort of share his strategies and his approach. The week after, looks like I'm up, and I'm going to be talking about trading a single stock. And you guys who know me can probably guess which stock that is. But I'm going to talk more about what the upsides and downsides are of looking at a single stock, because there are risks to be aware of and to be avoided, but there's also benefits. So and there it is. So, and both of those are happening at 8 o'clock on Tuesdays. Wednesday, like I mentioned, psychology days. So we had, I think, Dr. Reed last night and some information. Next week, Mike is going to be back with us at 8 o'clock on the 22nd, talking about common psychological issues. So how to manage anxiety while you're trading and how to sort of be aware of your own emotional state so you can better manage it. We say this all the time. If you're a member here, you'll know this. But trading, we tend to focus on the technical stuff a lot, especially when you look at videos and that. It is a psychological and a mental game. 80% of success is determined by your psychological makeup and how well you can manage yourself. It's not you against the market, it's you against yourself. And if you manage that, you can have success over the long term. So that's why Wednesdays are so important to us. And then Wednesday, the 29th, we'll have Randy Howell back with us talking about keeping emotional control. Thursdays, which is today, it's all mentorship all day. So John does an in-session mentorship class at 11 o'clock. That's in our webinar room for all of our elite members. That'll be happening today. And then Thursday night, we have Thor, which is Thor mentorship at 8 o'clock. So hopefully you'll join us for those too. Hopefully you'll also join us in our free tools. We've got 2 of them for you, completely free, no obligation. The stock trading simulator, you can use at any time. Run backtest strategies. Go through approaches, and you can play sort of any day of the market on any stock and sort of take the trade, see how it would work out, test your skills out. Eamon also, if you sign up for his newsletter, gives you suggested stocks and strategies to trade, which gives you some just great insight. Again, there's no obligation for that. You can also get the updated news. We've got a beta trial going of our trading terminal that we use actively in the room, tradingterminal.com. Just go there and you can use that as well to get news and updates and highlights. They're fantastic tools that we are building. Andrew spent a lot of time and energy building those for the community, and they're great tools. There it is right there on the screen. So some good stuff to use. And if you like those and you want to be part of a community and be able to talk stocks, talk with like-minded people, be part of our chat room, then consider joining our chat room. You can do it on a trial using the code PreMarket24 to get a 1-week trial that just gives you a taste, because we know not every room is for every trader. That'll give you a good feel for what it's like. And we're convinced that once you do that, you'll want to join us on a monthly or annual basis. If you do that and you join us on an annual basis, Dr. Reed has very generously offered a free one-on-one coaching session for everybody that joins. So when you join for an annual membership, or you upgrade your current membership to an annual, use the code READ50 and you will get that free coaching session as well as your discounted annual rate. So it's a great deal. If you've listened to any of Dr. Reed's sessions, he's good. He's a trader himself. He knows what he's talking about. So a one-on-one session could be invaluable with him to just give you that edge and the push you need to put your trading on the track for where you want to be.
All right, Peter, thank you very much for that.
Yep.
with that said, let's jump into our levels, guys. So we have AMD, I have Neo, I have Nvidia and Baba, and I think I'll have some more later down the line as we get closer to 9:30. But for right now, I'm gonna keep those. I'll do levels for those. We might even do level for Tesla as well. I'm actually gonna move Tesla up because I do have a little bit of space here, and Tesla can run very well, with the market as well. It can be very aggressive on its move up or down. So let's get some levels in here. We'll start with AMD. AMD again continues to have amazing strength at this support level right over here, guys. This what is 85? What are we looking at? It's around 85.50 or so. I mean, just tons of support here. We've seen it over and over again. Every time it gets here, it does find a way to bounce back up. And I remember in this area here, if you guys recall, the SPY was selling off very aggressive, and it just kept holding here. It did not really want to go lower than this. Let's see if that's going to stick for the next coming days here, if the SPY decides to head south here. Low of the pre-market set by the highs and lows of the last 2 trading days right in here. So that is already doing the job for you. Towards the bottom, we do have 83.15. But before we get there, we have one level here at 84.72. That could be a decent one. Again, not a major bounce like you're getting here off this date, but I think worth enough to still have on deck there. All right, towards the top, guys, highs and lows for the last 2 trading days. Previous day close. I'm just going to mark down the high of the pre-market. That is around 87.83. And again, AMD's day looking really nice. Actually, one of the better dailies that we have on many of our tickers this morning. Here's Neo. Neo also, I like Neo towards the upside. I hope they can get going above this 2014 or head to in that direction. Right now, taking a little bit of a drop, down 4%. I love the volume on it, 2.1 million shares traded. So you are getting tons of activity here. I'm going to head over to the left and get some levels above the highs and lows, the previous day close. Let's get some levels up here. And there's a nice one right on there. 2087 is good. And then you have another one that's very clear right around 2188, might be 22, but around this area here, you can see a couple of days opening, closing, and slamming up against that level. So that is good there. High of the pre-market, you can mark that down very close to the previous day close, about 9 cents away. That is at around 20 bucks exact. So $20 there for the high of the pre-market. All right, let's take a look at Nvidia. Nvidia, we have another area of support right around here as well. We've seen a couple of bounces in this area. If we head towards the bottom, low of the pre-market is going to be set at 158.48. So we'll throw a level there, and then below that you have your highs and lows from the last 2 trading days, going as low as 155 on the low there. So that is decent. There is a level right on here that might be worth putting on. It's going to be around 156.58. You got a couple of days opening and closing around that area. This is slightly below that, but I think it's worth still kind of noting an area for that, especially if we do decide to sell off on Nvidia here. Here's Baba, guys, and Baba has been so good. I mean, you could tell here by the daily candles how nice these candles have been. So you are getting a good continuation, and not just that, you're getting that with volume as well, which is a good sign for us. So right now, stuck between the highs and lows of the last 2 trading days. I am just going to add in between here the low of the pre-market at 103.07. So that is a good level there. And then if we were to lose that, we have the low from 2 days ago. And then below that, we have a nice level here that's confirmed as resistance, and then some support at 98.32 for Bob. So you're set there. Again, beautiful daily here, great volume. Let's see if we can continue trading nice on Baba here. And Tesla getting very active, 951,000 right now. Towards the downside, we have 666.92 is your level of support there. And then towards the bottom here below that, you do have 621.74. So that's a good level there as well. And then towards the top, I'm going to mark down the high of the pre-market at 688. And then above that, plenty of levels, previous day close, highs and lows are doing the job for you there. So you're pretty much set here when it comes to Tesla. That is our watch list, guys. I think it's a good list. Again, do you expect some chop today, Peter? I kind of expect a little bit of chop this morning. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I do. I think that after the Fed announcement, that was sort of the big thing that people were waiting for, being that it came out at the sort of the high end of the recommendations. I think that actually is going to calm the market, but it doesn't mean that people are going to jump into anything, right? If they were jumping in or jumping out, then we'd see big directional moves. But I agree with you. I think that things are just going to settle probably today and tomorrow, especially going into the long weekend, and we're just going to see chop over the next few days. Not to say there's not trading opportunity, right? Keep your eyes
Hmm.
open, focus on
Yeah.
what you want to trade. You will find it, but just, don't be jumping at things. Make sure you take mature setups.
Absolutely, guys. Wait for your setup. Be patient is very, very important. The hardest part, I think the hardest part and the biggest part about being a trader is knowing when not to trade, when not to jump into something. Because, man, when you're starting out, especially until you learn this and hopefully you learn this sooner than later, you want to take a trade, right? You became a trader to take trades. And then we're telling you, hey, don't take the trade, So it's something you have to really work on. Be patient with the process, and the less you trade is much better. I compare myself to about 2 3 years ago, and I take almost 50% or 60% less trades than what I did when I first started, by far. So
Yeah.
very trigger happy when you get going. So try to work on that. Be very selective. You want quality over quantity at all times when it comes to
And
trading.
that's pretty typical, Carlos. I find that as most traders mature, they find their volume goes down because you get more comfortable waiting for trades. You're not so afraid of missing things that you're
Yeah.
jumping into poor trades that you then have to recover from. So, unless you're a high frequency trader in which you're just trading, once every couple of minutes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's because that's a totally different style. But for most people, when you're looking for setups, you get more comfortable, you tend to take fewer trades, but you're willing to wait for the higher quality ones, which leads to a better overall result.
Yeah, absolutely. Christian say, I feel that completely as a beginner, I feel I have to take a trade every chance I get. Yeah, I know the feeling. We all been there. We all been there. It's exciting, right? Trading is exciting, so you want to be in the action, and it's exciting to be in the action. But you learn quickly that some of the action is not making you money, and you're gonna change that very quickly, right? At the end of the day, you're here to make money, and if that action is not making you the results you want, you got to change it very quickly. So. Um, all right, Amazon. Let's take a look at Amazon. Some of you guys throwing that one out here. We got a couple of minutes. AMZN. What is Amazon up to today? Always with the great volume, 1.2 million at the moment. And yeah, it's just pretty much sideways. Again, if you look at this list here, right, anything between, for the most part, above 3%, between 3% and 5%, it doesn't really have its own catalyst going right now, right? Look at PLTR here, look at NCLH. It's all market movement. There's really nothing going on. So when I look at Amazon, it's the same thing. They got higher volume than most of these, right? Some of these are sitting at 400,000, POTR at 600, NCLA is at 200,000. I like CCL better today at 1.1. But even then, that 1.1 is down 3.6, and it's not really doing a whole lot, right? So I think a lot of these are just reacting with the overall market. Things are very sensitive right now. So just be patient. Even Apple right now at the moment is just kind of going sideways, looking better though than many stocks. Do I have Apple on my list? I do not. Apple should be on my list. Let's add Apple right over here, and that'll be the last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. We'll add Apple on here, and it looks like the levels we have here are going to work out pretty nice. We have 134.55. Actually, no, let's not. Some of these are overlapping the highs and lows, so we'll redo them. High of the pre-market looking at 133. 46, that's good. And I think that's all you really need to add. We got a great area of support right on here as well on Apple. And you can see the pre-market getting very nice right now as far as the price action going into the market open. So, all right, we are all set. Let's take a look at our moderators lineup, guys. I see a couple on here. Susan, Dima, Thor, Jared, Peter. We all have our list ready. So let's bring this over and see what's going on there. Let me resize this so you guys can see it properly. As I am doing this, guys, over on YouTube, hit that thumbs up. We appreciate it very much, and it does help out the channel a whole bunch. And do not forget, today's Thursday, so we do have the closing bell. And if my memory serves me right, I believe Artie is off today, but you will have Brian running the show, hosting the show with Andrew. So don't miss that. Always good to see Brian and his comments. So we'll be looking forward to that. So and Brian will
Yeah.
also be trading live today.
Yeah, Ryan's always with us at the Open, and something unrelated I wanted to mention just
Yeah.
quickly. We're finally getting back to being able to do some of our live events, our meetups, and we love those because it's a chance to meet traders both those that are currently members in the room and new traders. So if you're listening to us on YouTube and you're just sort of investigating trading, you're not really sure, and you happen to be in an area where we're doing the meetups, join us. It's completely free. There's no obligation. We'll buy you a drink. And you can just talk with us, talk with actual traders, not only us that are moderators that'll be there, but just talk with the traders who join and see what it's about, see how they trade, see how they like that environment, and whether it's something for you. So our next one is happening. It looks like we've got one coming up at the end of this month in June. Andrew had posted here in New York City, so June the 24th. And if you go to our if you go to our, we've got an Eventbrite event so that you can just sign up, just so we know the numbers and we make sure that we let the venue know, because we, especially in New York, sometimes we get like 30 people, sometimes we get 300. We just never know, right? So if you can give us a heads up. But again, no obligation. You want to bring somebody, you want to bring a friend, whatever, great. We're willing to meet everybody. So June the 24th, New York City. Hopefully we'll see you there, and give us a heads up if you think you can go using that link that you can see in the comments on YouTube. So with that, sorry, Carlos, we can see what our moderators are watching.
No, all good, my friend. All right, our moderators today are, let's start with Susan. She is watching Tesla, Apple, the overall market, and Baba. Dima is looking at AMD, Baba, Amazon, and Apple. Thor will be looking at the SPY, the Qs, Amazon, Apple, Baba, and then, of course, the Pivot Alert Bot. You can follow the Pivot Alert Bot as well on Twitter. So that's the handle right there, at Pivot Alerts Bot. So take a look at that. Peter, so IPOs for today, none. And then we have a SPAC coming out there. And then for Jab, we have the SPY, we have the Qs, and he's going to be looking at secondary EDU, SIDU, and ADN. I almost said AMD there, but ADN. And then Peter, of course, AMD, Apple, CCL, secondary list, KR, Meta, and Amazon. And here's Brian, who'll be taking you through the open with Andrew, SPY, Qs, EDU, GDX, and the scanners today. So notice Brian's list very tight, here. So it kind of tells you what kind of day it's going to be when Brian has a very tight list, because these are basically, he watches these every day, the SPYs and the Qs. He's really watching EDU and GDX as a separate watch list there. So guys, be prepared, be patient. It can be choppy today. We do not know what to expect, but just be patient with your process. Very, very important. Guys, I will see you tomorrow. Remember, no engineering the markets, only pre-market prep at 8:30. It is Friday. Join us again to prepare as we end the week. If you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up, subscribe. Today we have the closing bell. I'll see you in the chat. Come talk to us there. We'll be in the chat. You can ask any questions, and we can get back to you there. So trade safe today and have a good one. Peter, thanks for covering for Norm, and we'll see you.
Anytime. I hope we hope Norm's better, and you guys, if you wanted to send Norm sort of some gift basket and possible meats beyond the meat, he loves that stuff. So maybe to replace the one that burnt up in the accident. So
yes,
but hopefully he'll be back with us tomorrow.
Absolutely, guys. Take care. Trade safe. There's the link for NYC meetup, guys, over on YouTube. Click on that in RSVP, and we will see you guys then. Hopefully you can make it. Take care, everyone.